Hi, I'm Chris, the on-farm network agronomist with the Manitoba Pulse and soybean growers. Let's review results from the on-farm network's 2024 field pea seeding rate trials. Here's a table showing the recommended field pea plant stands by the Manitoba Pulse and soybean growers. So under conventional systems, the target of about 80 to 90 plants per square meter or 7 to 8 plants per square foot is optimum. And the final pea plant stands per acre will be approximately 320 to 360,000 plants per acre. And this comes from small plot research, but the on-farm research on pea fungicide trials has shown some good yields with established plant stands that were significantly lower, anywhere from just under 3 plants to just over 7 plants per square foot. And we found that the reason why the plant stands were lower in some of these trials was due to lower seeding rates and only 60% survivability, which was less than expected. Typical seedling survival in peas is about 85%. And with these yields often being sufficient, even on the lower plant stands, this led us into a deeper investigation with pea seeding rate questions and the implementation of trials, which is currently ongoing. So the objective of these trials is to dive into the agronomic and economic impacts of different seeding rates in peas. Is there an effect on yield? And if there is yield improved enough to pay for the extra seed cost? The other question involved in these trials is how can we improve pea survivability and establishment? So in 2024, we had 5 pea seeding rate trials completed. With these trials, the seeding rates are determined by the farmer, and we want to have a minimum difference of 20 seeds per meter squared or 80,000 seeds per acre, difference among the rates. So we test the farm's normal practice to higher and lower. In these trials, we evaluate plant stands in both early in the season for establishment and during maturity to see how plant stands change throughout the season among different seeding rates. So now getting into results, a lot of numbers on this table, but it shows for each trial the pea varieties tested and the 3 pea seeding, the germination percentage of the seed and the 3 pea seeding rates that were tested. And then the percent of seeding rate established, which is based on the vegetative stage plant counts. But the one thing I want to highlight here is the percent of seeding rate established or percent of seeded seeds becoming viable plants with the different seeding rates of low, normal, and high. And there was a trend towards slightly fewer plants surviving with the higher seeding rates compared to the lower seeding rates. Now on to the grain yield results. In this yield results graph, the low, the normal, and the high seeding rate yields for each site are represented by the colored bars. The light colored bar is the low rate, and the darkest colored bar is the high rate, with the medium rate in between those two. Trial sites are listed along the bottom of the graph, and the yield in bushels per acre is along the vertical side. And the results showed that there were no significant yield differences between the seeding rates tested in 2024. When calculating the economic impacts of the different seeding rates, we assumed a field pea seed cost of $29.33 per bushel, and this figure came from the 2024 Manitoba Agriculture Cost of Seed Production. Since there were no significant yield differences among pea seeding rates, there was a loss in profit of $14.67 per acre up to $36.66 per acre, depending on the seeding rate tested. So in summary, pea yield has not changed with changes in seeding rate at the field scale on farm to date. Seed survivability, or the amount of living plants established, has been lower than expected in peas, and we're interested in investigating that more over more growing season. Despite seeing decent yields with the lower plant stands, the recommendation still remains at targeting 7 to 8 living plants per square foot or 85 living plants per square meter. A few quick research updates and your observations that can impact your establishment. In terms of seeding depth, targeting 1.5 to 2-inch depths, placing those seeds into moisture will help minimize the number of seeds left sitting waiting for rain or being stranded near the surface. Pea cotyledons stay below ground so that they can come up from a depth much easier than beans. And you want to seed in April or latest in early May into soils that have reached 5 degrees Celsius at seeding depth. Warmer soils means faster, more even emergence, but research has also shown that seeding into soils below 10 degrees has reduced root rot severity, which can impact plant stands. Delaying seeding also means that peas flower in the heat of summer, and they can shrivel up if it's too hot. Crop insurance data indicates greater yield potential with earlier seeding dates targeting the last week of April and the first week of May has resulted in greater than 100% relative yields. To inform the expected seed survival part of that equation, take a look at and count plant stands in your fields. Relate that back to your seeding rate. Is that lower than you were expecting? Is there anything you can think of that might have reduced plant establishment? Can we improve on the number of plants that establish in peas? Lastly, when choosing a seeding rate for your peas on your farm, take note of the variety seed size, which is the 1,000 kernel weight, and calculate your seeding rate based on your germination rate and your expected seed survival based on your farm's experience. Here's a quick cheat sheet for different seed sizes and an example of when germination is 95% and your expected survivability is 90%. So in the table at the bottom, we show an example of what rates to use to target 8 plants per square foot, and the bottom row is 7 plants per square foot. If you're interested in learning more about these results, every trial result is available in the On-Farm Network database, available at manitobapulse.ca, or by following the QR code shown on the screen. If you're interested in participating in an on-farm trial, please get in touch with me. Thanks for listening today. I've been Chris, the On-Farm Network agronomist. Follow us on social media to stay up to date.